Okay, so today I'm going to answer a question about muscle recovery. How long should you rest after training in order to get proper recovery? And this stems from a message that was left by Tim James underneath one of my videos. And he said that he's basically confused. He's torn between two theories. 24 to 48 hours is how long it takes for a muscle to recover. So natural bodybuilders should train more often with a higher frequency. And at the same time, he's saying, but is that enough? Is that enough recovery time? And the thing is, this is all relative. And I'm going to say this to you, okay? There is no right exact time. There is the right time for you. And I know I've drummed this into you guys 1,000 times, but it really is true. There are some people that can have a better recovery ability than other people. You put them through the exact same workout, and then 2 days later, they're totally recovered. And then another person's sore for 4 or 5 days, okay? It just depends on the person. It just depends on you and what's working. So, on that note, as a general rule, I will say this. If you are working within ranges of 5 reps to 8 reps or 3 reps and you're doing your maximum lifts, like this is absolute failure when you're hitting these rep ranges. You know, you can only get 5 reps on the bench and that's as much as you can do. Then you will need more recovery as opposed to if you're doing sets of 20 or 25 because you're working different muscle fibers and different muscle fibers have different ability to heal at different rates. Okay, so endurance fibers tend to heal faster. Fast twitch fibers tend to heal slower, but they are responsible for a larger amount of your muscle mass. Depending on what ratio you have going on in your body will depend on how long on average it takes you to recover. If you're doing compound movements where you're doing whole body movements such as deadlifts and power cleans and squats right to the floor, and you know you're using a lot of the joints and the joints are actually getting hit hard from these movements, it takes a lot longer for a joint to recover than the muscle, which is why I always say train the muscles, not the joints. The reason why is because the muscles have a capability to recover because there's more blood flow, where the joints, it takes them quite a bit longer. So every time you tweak a joint, it totally sidelines your training for a long period of time. You have to find the sweet spot for you. Now, ultimately what I found was that when I trained more frequently, I was able to train more intensely, more consistently, and I got more results. But one of the things that I say to you is that I had to up my reps because of this. If I was training in the 4 to 5 rep range every day and then doing whole body workouts 4 or 5 days a week, I'd overtrain really quick or injure myself. That's why I don't do that. That's why I vary the reps up. So some of the high rep days become pumping of blood. They actually assist me with healing from the heavy days. I'm not only hitting the slow twitch fibers, but I'm also helping pump blood into that area so that I'm actually recovering at a faster rate from my fast twitch fiber workouts or my power workouts, okay? Ultimately, you have to kind of find that sweet spot for you. Some people, they train a certain frequency with a certain volume and they say, Jason, I tried to train like you. I tried to train super frequent and it just doesn't work. And I said, well, did you increase your reps? Did you lower the amount of sets that you're doing? You know, these are all factors that have to come into play when you design your training program. You can't just do the exact same workout. I talked to a guy yesterday and he said he wants to train his body parts twice a week, but he says you just can't do it. It's just too hard. It takes too long. I'm like, well, what are you doing? And he goes, well, I'm training my 20 sets for chest, you know, and I'm saying, first of all, that's a lot of volume. I said, you're almost becoming an endurance runner doing a workout like that. I know some of the unnatural guys can get away with that kind of volume, but most of the guys I know, if they're doing 20 sets for a body part, I find it's almost counterproductive. I mean, I've got nothing in the gas tank by the time 15 sets are done. You know, sometimes even 7 sets, I've got nothing in the tank. So I don't know how a guy could train 25 sets, but if that works for you, go ahead. So ultimately what happened is the guy said, I can't work out more than twice a week on a body part because I do 25 sets, you know, on Fridays for chest or something. How can I do 25 sets on Monday and then 25 sets on Friday when I'm doing chest and back in a workout and 25 sets each? I said, well, you can't do the same workouts. You know, ultimately what has to happen is that the volume has to come down. You have to do less volume in order to be able to hit that frequency, right? And this is also the same with intensity levels such as rep range. You cannot be doing 500-pound bench presses for sets of 2 5 days a week. Okay, that's just obvious to anybody that understands the principles of training. But if you want to do frequent training, you could get away with it by doing lighter lifts. Like say you're doing 225 on the bench and you're a 500-pound bench presser, 225 just isn't that intense on your overall system and it will not be taking away from your healing. If anything, it might be helping because you're just getting the blood flow in that area because it's such an easy workout for you. So how many days a week should you rest totally? Again, this boils down to you. If you're totally sore and every time you work out, it's too much pain, that means you're due for a day off. Also, if you're working out and your strength is going down like this all the time, or your joints are always aching, or if you feel like there's no pump, there's no joy, there's no happy kind of excitement feeling, like you're not feeling nourished from going to the gym, you're just feeling burned out, almost like you have the flu, that's when it's time to take a day off. So on average, I recommend 1 day off a week from training. Some guys, if they have a tendency to get sore for longer periods of time from their workouts because of higher fast twitch fiber content, then they might need 2 days off, maybe 3, depending on the person. But ultimately, this is the thing you got to play play with. If you're always sore, always burned out, always getting weaker, you're not getting more pumped, you're not feeling like there's any results, you can't see anything, you're actually going backwards in your training, well, yeah, chances are you're either training too hard or training too little. So figure out which one, right? And the only way you'll know is by experimenting and trying things out. So another thing I want to talk about is just don't be afraid to try things out. I find there's such a fear on the internet about trying a new technique or something that works for you, but ultimately the only way you're going to learn is by trying the technique and seeing if it works. The biggest mistake I made in my training in the early days was that I was afraid to stop doing what I was doing because I didn't want to lose what I had already gained. But the thing is, you're not going to lose. Worst case scenario, you can just go back to that type of training method again and revisit your gains in case you did lose something. But most likely what's going to happen is you're going to switch something up and you're going to actually hit the muscle in a new way, and you may learn something different about your body and get new results. So I hope this helps put this debate aside of how much you should rest your body parts or how frequent you should train. Don't do something because that's the way it's always been done. You know, don't be afraid to try the bro split. Don't be afraid to try the 3-day-a-week method. Don't be afraid to try the super frequent method that I'm advocating. Once you try these things, you're going to find your groove, and just know that you have to adjust the parameters depending on which training program you choose. If you're only training a body part once a week, you can afford to go heavy every single time you train that body part. You know, chances are you can afford to because you're probably totally recovered by the time you hit that body part again. But if you're training really frequently, then you won't be able to afford to be able to go quite as heavy because yes, there is going to be more protein breakdown, and it does take a minimal period of time for your body to recover from that. You won't be able to recover instantaneously from almost maximum weights, right? So yeah, if you have any questions or anything, leave a comment down below or visit me at naturalgallantbodybuilding.com. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Take care for now.